In the future, survival won't be defined by who has food first. It will be decided by who can stay cool. And guess what? That future, it isn't coming. It's already here. For most of history, cooling has been optional. Shade, breeze, designs. Then we decided somewhere that glass towers were a great idea to be put everywhere. And so we did. But today, cooling is no longer comfort. It is now survival. Public health agencies, including the World Health Organization, recognize extreme heat as one of the deadliest climate-related risks. When temperature crosses certain thresholds, the human body cannot cope without cooling. Which takes us to air conditioning, the fastest growing energy demand sector out there. As the planet heats up, demand for cooling explodes in various capacities. The International Energy Agency projects global air conditioning use to be more than triple by mid-century if trends continue. So cooling demand is rising faster than the grids can handle it. So naturally, the plan, is to plug in millions of new ACs and hope the power stays on. But sadly, oftentimes it doesn't. But why doesn't it? Well, it's time for a couple of uncomfortable truths again. Uncomfortable truth number 1. Cooling access already divides who lives and who dies. Because heat doesn't kill evenly. People with access to cooling survive. People that don't have access to cooling, they don't. Heat mortality data consistently shows higher death rates among low-income households, outdoor workers, elderly population, and people without access to cooling. So cooling has now become a life-saving resource, no longer a luxury, which is quite awkward. Why? Because we still treat cooling like it's a lifestyle upgrade. So cooling inequality is essentially baked into the foundation of the cities that we build today. Tree-lined neighborhoods versus concrete heat traps. I think I'm gonna go with the heat traps. That makes more sense. Wealthier areas have trees, open fields, ventilation, insulation, and poorer areas have asphalt. They have tin roofs, and worst of all, they're overcrowded. As a matter of fact, urban heat island research shows low-income neighborhoods often experience significantly higher temperatures than wealthier ones. So even before climate change, the map itself was inherently unfair. Heat just made it deadlier. The odds, they just went up. And here is where things get worse. Cooling needs electricity. Heat waves, they spike demand of such electricity. Grids end up failing because they cannot provide the required electricity. Grid operators globally, as a matter of fact, report heat waves as a major driver of peak demand and even blackouts. So when people need cooling the most, the system politely says, yeah, thank you, can't do it. The hottest regions in the world are often the least able to afford cooling. Development and energy access data shows cooling access is lowest where heat exposure is highest. This is not accidental. This is the result of poverty, weak infrastructure, and historical inequality, all binded in one. The second uncomfortable truth: cooling will increase emissions unless we change how we do it. Uncontrolled cooling growth makes climate change a lot worse. The IEA analysis shows inefficient cooling could significantly increase emissions and strain energy systems. So what do? Well, we're trapped. People need cooling to survive. It's simple. And yet, cooling as it exists today accelerates the very crisis that makes us need cooling to begin with. No pressure. And before we have an entire thread that's dedicated to how this is about AC and how this isn't, let me be the first to say this isn't just about AC. Cooling inequality is not an appliance problem. It is inherently a design problem. Passive cooling architecture, urban shade, all factors that are extremely crucial. As a matter of fact, research on passive cooling and urban design shows cities can reduce heat exposure dramatically without increasing their energy demand. But the brutal fact is this: these solutions, they require planning, which we keep postponing. Alright bro, so doom and gloom. Well, the crisis is not inevitable. Nothing usually is. Proven strategies that are bound to work: passive cooling architecture, urban tree cover and shade to be invested in and scaled, cool roofs and reflective materials, extremely underrated whenever you're trying to look at extreme concentrations of people in slums. This can be of paramount significance. Efficient cooling standards, because that's just the harsh reality of the world we live in. We need standards to realize that, hey, impact, it needs to be incubated by us. Reliable power infrastructure. Let's not forget the fact that all of the solutions that we're talking about are going to take a while to put together. What about the meantime? Do we just leave people to the mercy of the heat waves? No. Alternatives and adaptations, they need to be given precedence. And finally, heat action plans and public cooling centers. Infrastructure that the government needs to actively invest in, beyond the confines of what they have promised to potential stakeholders or donors. These measures are not coming from thin air. They've been supported by the WHO, the IEA, the IPCC, and are backed by multiple research papers that are on urban resilience. So cooling does not have to be a privilege. There, I said it out loud. But it will be a privilege if we delay acting any further. In the 21st century, inequality will not be about income. It'll be about temperature. Who can cool their home? Who can cool their city? Who can survive the heat? And that divide is growing faster than most people realize. If this made you feel uncomfortable, good. That means you're paying attention. This is Noviksgiven. We explain the systems shaping everyday lives long before they break. Or at least we try to. I'll see you in the next one.